Hey guys, it's Anime Ball Z here, and today we're going to be doing the third part of What If Deku had a stat level in Quirk. I know I've been gone for a little bit more than usual, things came up, but I'll go right back on schedule. You guys really love my What If Naruto Was an Engineer series. I'm not going to be stopping anytime soon. I'm probably going to stop doing the What If around a bit after the Sasuke retrieval arc. There's nothing much else I want to say in the intro, so without further ado, let's get into the video.
Winter time, all the time, ooh, yeah. Look at the way that I move, swag, disrespectful and I'm rude, okay. I had cocaine in the school.
Deku gets into UA and can't wait to prove himself to the rest of the class, and the first day of class, Bakugo quickly goes to him. He says, "Don't think just because you beat me with that soft heart that you're strong." Deku replies with, "Oh, am I not?" Bakugo says, "Don't test me, Deku." Deku says, "Try me." Bakugo pushes his glowing palm right at Deku and causes an explosion. The whole class turns to see Deku, but then he just turns to slime. He is then seen standing upside down on the ceiling with his slime. He collects it, then puts it all in his inventory. He lands gracefully, then says, "Don't think I'm so easy, Kat-chan." Bakugo clenches his fist in fury, then goes in to punch Deku. Deku tanks the hit and smiles. He says, "I'm not so weak either." Bakugo scoffs and walks to his seat. The whole class then see Bakugo and Deku's strength. They already assume Deku is strong though, since his body is very muscular. The Quirk apprehension test comes about and everyone is ready to show their skills. For the 50-meter dash, Deku gets way better than he does in canon. He puts quite a bit of slime muscle fibers into his legs and abs before the run. When he runs, he manages to clock his dash at 2.73 seconds. This slightly beats Tenya's time of 3.04 seconds. For the next test, the grip strength test, Deku puts slime muscle fibers into his arms and overall upper body. He gets about a whopping 400 kilograms. This number will surely rise without the what if though, it's just that he doesn't really train grip strength like that. For the standing long jump, Deku clears the sandbox like a lot of others. For the ball throw, Deku uses a special ability that enhances his hand and arm speed, and this makes him throw the ball much further than if he wasn't. He manages to get about 400 meters. This is still well under what Bakugo got, about 300 meters less. This means Bakugo just doesn't rage about Deku getting 0.1 meters higher than him in the ball throw. Deku then does really good on the rest of the tests. Deku gets 4th right behind Bakugo. He is physically strong, yes, like superhuman level, but he doesn't have a quality that outshines the rest necessarily. For example, Uraraka probably got average on the rest of the tests, but she got infinite on the ball throw. Some people can be average physically, but their quirk can take them a long way. Shota reveals that he was never actually serious with expelling the kids at UA, and this makes Mineta happy since he gets to stay. Deku thinks this is just a physical test. Once it comes to a fight, there won't be a challenge. I'll prove myself to win in all of UA. But I guess I have to wait till that time comes. And eventually the time comes. The battle trial arc begins. Deku's hero costume will be a little different in colour. The green is just darkened, the red parts of his costume are actually grey. He does this to symbolise the grey material skill stone that he is using. He also doesn't have that All Might inspired mask, but just the suit. He does love All Might still, he just wants to pave his own path. Deku still gets in the team with Uraraka and they still go against Bakugo and Tenya. Deku and Uraraka walk around the place, then Deku creates a slime clone. He diverts from their general location to give themselves info of where Bakugo could be. Deku says, "Where is he?" Uraraka says, "How am I supposed to know?" Deku then hears the slime clone get destroyed by Bakugo. He turns and then sees Bakugo fly right into his direction. He sees an explosion and takes out a good amount of stone. He creates a stone shield which breaks on impact of Bakugo's explosions. He falls back and says, "Uraraka, go!" He turns and reveals his axe from his inventory. It glows and he uses Bjorn Hurl. He hurls the axe at Bakugo, but Bakugo diverts its path with his explosions. It falls to his side and he says, "Come on Deku, show me what you're made of." He takes out his metal knuckle dusters and he rushes at Bakugo. He throws a lightning quick punch, but Bakugo launches 2 explosions in his face. This diverts the path of his punch and makes his fist roll over to the side. He grabs his axe and swings it at Bakugo. Bakugo gets stabbed in the arm, then he pulls it out. He quickly kicks Bakugo away and Bakugo holds his bleeding arm. Deku says, "It's over." He takes out a clump of slime and it starts to seep under his skin. His muscles enlarge and he rushes at Bakugo again. He leaps up to a wall however before leading to another beside him. Bakugo misses an explosion and this is a lethal mistake. Deku thinks, "Now!" He leaps down with all his might and says, "Finish a strike!" He throws a punch and it connects. Bakugo goes flying away and spits blood. His vision goes hazy and blurry and Deku says, "Sorry, Kat-chan." He grabs his axe and it disappears, then begins to run, but Bakugo says, "Stop! Where are you going?" He stands with a bleeding arm and mouth. He says, "Where are you going?" Explosions rapidly burst from his hands and Deku is forced to block. He rushes at Deku with his glowing palms and launches the explosions right close up to him. Deku slides back and starts to bleed in several places. He thinks, "These explosions, so damaging." Bakugo then launches a massive explosion from his gear. Deku flies off of his feet and back. Deku says, "You don't want me to go 100%, Kat-chan." Bakugo says, "Don't I?" He flies through the smoke and tries to punch Deku. Deku grabs his wrist and flips him mid-air. He lands on his back, then Deku creates a slime blade that he holds to his neck. Bakugo knocks it away and destroys it with an explosion. Deku looks up hastily and uppercuts him. Bakugo spits blood into the air and then Deku slams him into the wall. The wall cracks and he says, "No!" He launches an explosion but Deku predicts and moves out of the way. Deku punches him across the jaw and Bakugo thumps to the floor. He turns and runs up to Araki. He arrives and notices she has arrived against Tenya. Tenya tries to do his whole villainous voice but Deku says, "Let's see if you can stop me." He takes out his axe and hurls it at Tenya. Tenya uses his speed and dodges flawlessly. Deku dashes towards Tenya then lets him kick him. He tanks a hit then punches him across the face. He grabs his body and slams him into the ground. He just passes out and Deku touches the rocket. He thinks, "I've been going too versatile. I try and move around and use defense when I can just kill people with my fists alone." After the battle trial, Bakugo is unwilling to stay in the hospital bed. Recovery Girl says, "You've sustained some serious damage. Seems to be mainly blunt damage like from punches and there's one stab wound." He says, "You think I don't know that?" He tries to get out of bed but is chained to the bed. He says, "Let me go, I'll kill you." All Might says, "I don't think you should be doing that, kid." Bakugo thinks, "All Might." He stops resisting and scoffs as he goes back in bed. All Might nods to Recovery Girl and walks out. He waits for Recovery Girl to leave the room then he prepares. He shoots an explosion but it just blacks out a lot of the bed. He turns and knows he has to get out now. He concentrates the beam and breaks the chain. He runs out of the room and runs down the stairs. He makes his way out of the hospital and looks for Deku. He shouts, "Deku!" Deku hears this and thinks, "Who was that? Kanchan?" He goes outside to meet him and he says, "What?" Bakugo says, "I want a rematch." Deku says, "Come on, Kanchan, we don't have to do this." He says, "But I want to do this." He flies towards him with his explosions, but Deku grabs him by the neck of his shirt and slams him into the ground. He says, "Get up." He spits blood and he stomps on his head. Bakugo stops resisting, then he says, "Just stop this. There's no point." Bakugo spits more blood than Deku gets him up. Bakugo is devastated and doesn't even move. Deku says, "Be better." He turns and walks into the distance. After this, Bakugo starts really training his quirk. He begins learning his quirk and finding his advantages and disadvantages. He starts to analyze his advantages and embed them in his fighting style and also patch the problems with his disadvantages. He knows how strong Deku is and he decides to train his physical strength too. At his current strength, Deku could just blitz right through the explosions and punch him in the head. Deku would get injured too, but Bakugo could die. For electing a class president, things go the same, but the class isn't as fond of Deku. This is since Deku has been seen stomping on Bakugo's head, stabbing him with a little axe, knocking out Tenya ruthlessly, and more. Deku is just showcasing his strength, but it does look pretty bad at times. When the media arrives, Deku is the one to tell everyone and stop everyone from just leaving. Deku decides to keep the position since he likes leading people. This isn't any sort of malicious trait, but it's just that he likes to help people more. For the USJ, things go very similar up to when Tsuyu, Mineta, and Deku are in the flood zone. Deku says, "This isn't my forte, no power of mine can get us out of here. Even if it can, we'll be targeted and chased down." He takes out 2 clumps of slime, but then makes a slime ball so dense it's like the size of an apple. A clump of slime for Deku is like 50 to 60% the size of his entire body. This means that this slime ball is extremely dense. He says, "This should work." He throws the heavy slime ball out onto the water, then it explodes into sharp bits of slime. The villains get stabbed and hurt, then he says, "Grab onto me." Mineta just jumps onto his shoulders and Tsuyu grabs his hand. He launches his slime to the edge of the water, then he pulls them right across the water. They land and he takes his slime back before running away. The 3 watch over the Nomu, completely destroying Eraserhead. Deku thinks, "I have to fight." He gets up then creates a slime clone. He rushes at the Nomu and punches him. The Nomu doesn't even move then it splats out of existence. Deku creates stone and coats it across his body after making slime muscles. He uses the stone as good defense because he knows if one of those punches hit him, he could die. He rushes at the Nomu with his axe and uses Bjorn Hell from very close up. It hits onto the Nomu and creates a small bruise that heals in less than a second. While the Nomu was tracking the axe, Deku goes in and punches its chest. He jerks back a little but feels almost nothing. He grabs his arm and cracks a stone on it. Deku repeatedly punches him in the chest and collects stone across his arm. He punches again with Finisher Strike and causes the most damage, but he heals in less than a second again. Deku gets held all the way back, but he lands and thinks this isn't the end. He rushes at him and pulls out his bat. It cloaks in stone, then he bashes him with the bat. He turns and uses Finisher Strike, but the Nomu tanks both hits. Deku gets punched in the gut so hard that he gains a lot of wear and tear to his major organs. This means means that Deku is feeling a lot of pain right now. He then gets kicked right in the face. Deku flies back several meters and almost dies when he hits the rocky surface behind him. He spits out a mass of blood and he looks up to see that his vision is very hazy. He tries to reach for his bat but can barely move a meter forward. The Nomu rushes at him before All Might comes and punches him right out of the way. He says, "I've got you, kid. Go!" Deku stands and fuels his slam into his leg to make him walk away. He grabs his axe and bat and puts it all in his inventory before falling into the water below. So that will conclude the third part of What If Deku with a stat level in Quirk. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this part because I certainly enjoyed making it. Deku's Quirk is very versatile, so if you guys have any ideas that you can put in the comments, I'll certainly try and use it in my What If. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.